Hi there. It is August the 25th. I'm just making my rounds, and I love that because there's always something organic to eat out here everywhere. This is, and a video I made not too long ago featured this fig. It's golden rainbow. This one came from Ben's Golden Riverside, which is the same fig, as you know, or should know. It's hot out here, so hot. It's been up in the 90s, near 90. Very humid, but not too humid to or hot to eat some figs. Well, I've been eating Black Madeira too. One of my very, very favorite figs. And I don't know if I can't tell the focus. I never can. Uh-oh, look at that. I don't like that. I'm not going to eat that. That's spoiled. We've had a lot of, until now, we've had a lot of rain. But this one's good. This one's going to be different. There we go. There. Beautiful. I'll take a bite of this. Good. A little tangy on the end. Still trying to get over the rains, but this is good. You know, I made a video recently about taking these figs into the protection of my greenhouse only for the rain, to keep them from being rained on, that hurricane that came through here, the remnant. And so I didn't want the figs to suffer any more than they had to, and since they're mobile, that's one advantage of having figs in containers. You can move them about. In the spring, of course, you can shuffle them and put them in and out of a microclimate during the day and get an early start. During inclement weather, rainy, humid weather during the harvest, you can bring them in the shelter. When it's windy or stormy and you know it's going to be, you can take them into shelter. Those are some of the advantages of container growing. Of course, in 7A, where I am, the main advantage is that I can grow figs that I ordinarily couldn't grow in the ground because it's just too darn cold around here. So it is August the 25th, and there's a subject that I wanted to bring up that I have talked about a little in the past, but not enough. And so I wanted to expound upon it. Oh, hot, 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 hot. Let's see, my hands are all wet here. All right. Let's take a walk. I want to talk to you about the absolute fundamental, quintessential importance of sun if you want early figs and want better quality figs. Now, I don't want you to get me wrong. You can grow figs in partial shade, not too much, but you're not going to get the results. And I'm going to show you that right now. Hold on a second. Wish I could see what I'm doing here, but I can't. The sun's just too bright for me to see the controls. Hold on. That Black Madeira was good. I want to apologize too. Sometimes my videos do cut off, and I'm sorry about that. It's just that there's so much I want to tell you. I mean, I think I could make an all-day video every day, and there would be more things that I want to convey to you about growing figs, honestly. And I say that, you know, with all sincerity. I honestly would like to be able to get a lot more over to you before maybe I'm not able to someday. I hope that's a ways off. You never know. And They do cut off from time to time because of memory, shortage of memory. Remember, I'm only operating on a phone. I don't have a lot of fancy equipment. I don't rehearse. I have nothing to read from. I just talk. I guess I was used to it as a teacher. I used to lecture almost incessantly, but I got good results. Sometimes I'm redundant. I know that I'm redundant, but there's a reason why I'm redundant. I don't want to go into the reason why I'm redundant, although I explained to my students once or twice, to the really, really bright individuals in the class, why I was redundant. And it's important, to get the point across. I don't mind, even though I obviously am redundant sometimes. I don't mind it, as long as I get the job done and get my point across. And sometimes it takes me a time or two to get it across, or 3 or 4. Okay, so I told you that I wanted to talk to you about the absolute importance, and I mean it's a prime directive when you're a figster, when you're a grower of figs, is sun for early quality figs. Figs. Remember I told you, figs, that's what it's all about with me. I want figs. I don't want flimsy little twigs, that give me a dozen figs at the end of the year. I don't have time for that. And I've advised you against adding those types of figs to your collection. And I'm going to do it again, redundantly, and I'm going to repeat it until I get my point across, because I just think that too many people out there are being taken advantage of. It's not about how many varieties that you own. It's not about being a grower of varieties. It's about being a grower of figs. Figs. Quality figs that you can eat, figs that you can count on. Now that will vary, of course, from zone to zone. But for the most part, it holds true, because there's just so many varieties, even in the warmer zones, okay? Like in California and Arizona, that maybe require the fig wasp, caprification. And you're seeing figs being demonstrated on video and people eating them and so on and so forth, which is fine. I love it. Do it. I love it. I love it all. But you're seeing figs that maybe are benefiting from the process of pollination, a benefit that maybe you will not be able to derive from your fig collection because you don't have the fig wasp, like I don't have the fig wasp. You need to avoid that. How do you distinguish between a fig that someone's tasting on YouTube? How do you distinguish as to whether or not it is caprified or there is no caprification? You can't. You can't do it. And so, that should send up an antenna or two. Be careful. And be careful that just because it's growing wonderfully in California or Arizona or New Mexico, some warm place, don't think that that's going to necessarily be exactly how it's going to be for you in your climatic zone, which may be much more humid, not as hot, not as sunny, so on and so forth, much more rainy. You might not have those long, prolonged dry spells that you need for that kind of a quality. So try and stick with the winters, I always say. And how do you know that? Get to know people in your state, in your local zone. Reach out, connect with people like me, other people that are growing figs in your zone or in your proximity, and learn from them after experience so that you don't have to undergo the rigors and the disappointments of experience and how you have to acquire it over many, many, many years of sometimes total failure. You can just gain and jump right over all of that right to the nitty-gritty point. The point is here, okay? These are good varieties that grow and perform well in my zone, in my area. Now, I know ad nauseum, I bring that up over and over again, but I think I'm finally getting through. A lot of people are catching on. Now, getting back to sun, this is something that you can control in your zone regardless of where you are, okay? Now, this has partial shade because I have a big male persimmons tree that's a pollinator of mine, and it's right next to a female tree, which here's the female, here's the persimmons, and these two are growing together. These two trees are separate. One is a pollinator and one is a female, and it's got quite a bit of fruit on it. It's a native indigenous persimmons. The shade from that in my little fig garden here. This is a trial garden. I've talked about it before. And here I also have number two of the three fig trees that I've been growing experimentally for about 3 years. The Tiger, an LSU Tiger. I have another one in another climatic zone. All are doing well. And I wanted to note that these are just getting ripe now. I did have one ripe one the other day from here. Here's one that's probably edible. I'm not going to bother. But they're about 10 days later. If you look at my previous videos where I show this tree out in the front yard or the side yard in the open sun. And 10 days ago, you'll see that it was just completely, every single note was like this, filled with figs, ripe figs. And they were hanging down and they were even shriveling up. They were just ready to eat, and they were good. And I said that they were probably, even though they're different than your hardy Chicago types, I said they're about as good. I think maybe a tiny notch better, than the hardy Chicago types. The hardy Chicago types tend to split a little bit more than these. These will suck up water. They're not a perfect fig when it rains a lot, but they're pretty resistant because they have Celeste in their parentage. And Celeste, of course, is one of the very, very best figs that you can grow in your garden for resistance to the moisture and to the rain. There's probably no better fig than that. If you're in a warm enough zone and you can grow Smith also is an incredible cultivar in that regard, but I can't do that. I have to have my Smiths in pots, okay? But because it's in the parentage, because Celeste is in the parentage here on this LSU Tiger, it does seem to fare pretty well. Not as well, believe me, not as well as Celeste, but I would put it up a notch better than your typical Chicago hardy types or Mount Etna types. And of course, there's about 60 to 80 types that are out there being sold and people own that are all essentially the same. There are some variations. We talked about that. We're not going to go over that material again. Let's get back to the sun. 10 days later. Now, these figs will be just as fine. I mean, they'll be tasty. Maybe not. I shouldn't say that. Maybe not as tasty as the other tree that was in total sun. But 10 days is a lot in a zone like 7A. I mean, it is a lot. Now, you might say, well, yeah, but, and you could argue, you could say, yeah, but you want your figs to get ripe at different times, because what if it was real rainy then or real rainy now and not rainy then? That's true. It's good to stagger them a little bit. But that's not the reason why I did this, in all honesty. It's just that I have a lot of room, but this was a good place to have a fig garden, and I wanted them to be here because it's high ground. And I believe very, very, very much, always plant your figs on level ground, never on a hill, never raised. Maybe you can get away with it if you have a raised bed and it's pretty big all the way around it, and you really want to do it because it's low in the area and there's too much wetness, in the ground, the water table's too high. Okay, if you need to, do that once in a great while. Other than that, always plant your fig trees on high ground and on level ground. Never, ever, 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 never put them on a hill, okay, of any kind, because they will freeze in the winter when it's cold. Not when you have an unusually warm winter, but when you have a normal winter or an unusually cold winter, they'll freeze. And of course, in the summertime, they're going to suffer for lack of water. You're going to have to water them a lot, and it's just not good for the fig tree. I have found over the years, don't do that. Plant your trees on high ground and on level ground. Okay, if you want good results. And don't disturb the dirt. When you plant your in-ground trees, just dig a hole and stick them in there. Trust me when I tell you. You can put a few things in there, and I've talked about that in my other videos. You can put a lot of crushed oyster shell and a lot of calcium and some lime around there. There's a lot of things that you can do. This video is not about that. I have other videos about that. Okay, but dig a hole only big enough to insert the root ball into. That's it. Do not disturb the ground, or you're just going to get a lot of growth, a lot of flimsy branches, and you're not going to have a fig on every node like these. You're just not going to do that. You're not going to have that. You're not even going to have figs maybe for a couple of years. You're certainly not going to have results like this if you do that. Don't do it. Just dig a hole and stick your fig in there. That's it. Okay? Tight as you can get it. Because you know that when figs are root bound, when they tend to be root bound, okay, they grow more slowly and the energy goes into the figs, and it sends out a signal, an emergency signal to the fig tree, and it says, produce fruit, reproduce, reproduce, produce fruit. That's what it does. It really does. Nobody knows really why, and it does. And so you get trees that are just like this, that are just full of fruit. These are different varieties here, okay, and that's what you want, okay? You want that, okay? This is Vern's brown turkey. This is the old man. I have a video, the old man in the fig. This is his Hardy Chicago. I've been eating a lot of these. I can just go right through here. But I wanted to point out, and it's very, very important that I do, if you want figs, now this is full sun, totally full sun. Look at it. Now, I've been picking so many figs from here. Look at the abundance of figs on these branches. Look. Don't be fooled. Don't listen to the advice of these big nurseries or anything that you read on the internet. You know, stuff that you read on the internet, it's just repeated. It's just repeated. It's like a big cycle. Oh, no, same old crap. A lot of it's not true. It's not true. Full sun, full sun, full sun. Okay? If you must have a little sun, you're going to have a crop, just like I showed you with Tiger. You're going to have a crop, and it's going to be, you know, an enjoyable crop. If you only have maybe an hour of shade a day, but you're losing a lot in even an hour of shade a day. You want full sun if you can do it. So I think I stressed that. Now I want to go around and I want to talk about something else real quickly before I run this video out and it turns off again, which is probably going to happen anyway. But let me put this on pause. There's something else I want to talk about, because my alma's getting ripe, and there are people that are interested in that. And so it's later than the Hardy Chicago types and many of my other fruit trees. I want to talk about that in a minute. Before I get away from here, I forgot something. This isn't it. This is my in-ground long yellow longneck, rather. Yellow longneck. But let me get through here. Okay. These I've been eating for quite some time. And I've got videos on that too. And just recently I posted one comparing them. Okay. So we're going to move over to the Feliciano Bianco, which I talked about and said that it was different. Oh, here we go. Different than Desert King, or what I say, Dessert King, because some of the main crop figs get ripe about 15% or less. They say 20, but I don't have that so much. And Desert King being a San Pedro type fig, the second crop just falls off because it needs pollination, it needs caprification, and it doesn't have it. But the Feliciano Bianco, that's this other tree that I recommend as far as San Pedro types. I've grown a bunch of them and never really liked them too much in my zone. But here you can see that the main crop, and you can see that's a main crop fig clearly. Of course, this is a month and a half later from when my first Breba got ripe. On my San Pedro types, you see videos of them too. But here you go. This one's not so good. Say it fell off. And if you open this one, I told you they stink. I told you that the main crop fig, even though it does make them, isn't that good. This is what they're usually like when they come to fruition. Now this is not even a fair fig. I just don't like it, so I'm going to just throw it away. I know it's, well, yeah, it's horrible. I'm throwing it away. Okay, but this one's edible. This is a unique characteristic. Look at that. This is a unique characteristic of Feliciano Bianco, which is unlike Desert King. So you get a huge Breba crop, just like with Desert King, and you get some ripe, and a few fairly, I'd give them about a 7, 6 or 7, fairly decent main crops figs. This is going to be pretty good. I can tell just by looking at it, this is not going to be a bad fig. Let me taste it. Yeah. It's sweet. It's not a high quality fig. But that's pretty good. When you're desperate for figs, which fortunately I am not, okay, this would be a good fig. I mean, be an enjoyable, refreshing fig, but it's not that great. So never grow. If you want to distinguish for some reason, a better reason, don't ever grow Feliciano Bianco over Desert King because you want to have real delicious quality main crop figs. It's not going to happen, okay? and they're very far and few in between. But that one's pretty decent. I actually ate it all, and I got a lot of figs. Here's another one. You can see that one looks good too. There, that one looks good. I don't know if you can see it. I can't see through my screen, it's too sunny. But there's another one, that's a decent fig. Okay, but look at all the others. They're probably just going to fall off because they're not going to get ripe, and many did fall off. All right, so let's move on. I wanted to point that out since they're getting ripe. Just stopping on the way, some more wonderful long yellow. There's a real beauty right there. But quite a few getting ripe here, and some black Madeira getting ripe here on my medium size black Madeira. A very, very, very healthy tree, as you can see. And they're doing really well. That's going to be ready in a couple of days. And this one's a little Italian 258. And I've got one here that I guess it's ready. It's just about ready. For expediency, maybe I should pick it. I've got plenty of figs. Just to open it up for you here. And it's a good looking fig. Beautiful. Italian 258. Let's open her up. Okay. There we go. Extraordinaire. Fig extraordinaire. No question. Real top-notch, top-tier fig, which I strongly recommend if you have the patience to get it to ripen early enough, which I have no problem getting them. It's the 25th of August. I've been getting these for over a week. Here's some more. Here's some more. Rondi Bordeaux. Exquisite. Well, I don't know. My Rondi Bordeaux are just magnificent. They're small this year. Not this small. Much bigger than it. But you get all different kinds of size. Good. They're small this year. Can't really explain. But plenty large enough. And still getting ripe. There you can see. Rondi Bordeaux. So even though the main crop fig is mostly over with, they have largely come to full stop. That's not true. They're almost finished. And you can see where there was a fig on every single node. You can see that. And now you're at the ends of the branches where there's just a few more here and there, right at the end of the branch to get ripe. And I'll eat and enjoy every single one of them until they're all gone. See, at the ends, all the way up the branch. Oh, let's not forget this 258. Here's some more Italian 258s getting ripe. I have some of these in another video that I think I released just recently, or I'm going to release today. Later today, I'm going to release it from a couple days ago. I'm releasing my videos a few days later. I have to, because this is the time of year that so much is going on. I have so much I want to talk to you about and so much information I want to share. So what I'm doing is just filming the videos and storing them and then releasing them when a few days go by since the last video. It's not the best way to do it, but I have to. I have no other choice. These are some very ripe also Italian 258. Now that one there is not perfect. It doesn't have the rich color as the other, but it will taste just as good. How do you explain that? I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of hard. Let me see if it's true this time. It's sweet. It's creamy. It's delicious. Now hold on. Not as good. This one's better. Not by a mile. Both are delicious and delectable. And I love them. But this is better. Okay, let's move on. I'm going to show you the Alma. In line with what I was saying about the sun, this is my other tiger, which I filmed and posted a week or 10 days ago or so. And in that video, you'll see that there were just figs everywhere, all over this tree, and now they're played out pretty much. There's still a few stragglers, just like with the Ronde Bordeaux here and there. There's some nice figs still to be picked, a few here and a few there. There always is, depending on whether or not the branches are in the shade or if they're in full sun. And other factors. Here's a wonderful tiger. I don't know if it's good or not. Open it up. No, I don't like it. I see that there was a little bit of juice squirting out the eye, so this one's suspect, so I'll put it down. I've got plenty of figs. I'll go back and cut the end off that, though. The end off that will be good. But my point is, well, here's one that's just shriveled up. This is a quality that Celeste has. Celeste is in the parentage. Let me see if I can get my hands in this net. I don't need the net on here anymore. There's not enough figs to protect, so I'll use it somewhere else now. That's spoiled too. No good. No good. Throw it away. So what? All right. It's just too much rain. But these figs will get ripe, and they'll be fine. These figs towards the end of the branches. But you see the stark contrast in the maturation rate of this particular tiger in the sun, full sun, and the one that isn't, the one that gets partial shade. The one that's in partial shade right now is in its glory. So, as I said, I'm okay because I'm going to have, it's so hot right now, and they're forecasting a week of hot weather. So, it's okay with that fig back there behind the barn that gets a little bit of shade from the persimmons tree, because those figs are going to ripen and they're going to be exquisite. Okay, they're going to be great. But in another year, they might not be. You see, if this week was bad weather or cold nights or rain or the leftovers of a hurricane, which happened only a week ago, and that can happen again. Okay, now I promised about the Ama, which is a little later than the other figs. So I just want to feature this. They are starting to swell, and there are a great number of figs on this tree. It's a very prolific. Here's a little one that ripened. Let's see if it's any good. I think it is. It looks like it's just a tiny little fig. Yeah, that's good. It's good. That little fig was the first fig that ripened. I haven't picked a single fig from this yet. The 25th of August, you will note, those of you that want to grow Ama. I have found that Ama is winter hardy. Very. I have also found in another location that Ama or Alma, as they say, is a tree that is susceptible to the root knot nematode. I know that from experience. There's no question in my mind about that, unfortunately. So, usually in these zones, like 7A, you don't have too much trouble from the root knot, but it is here. It is present. It is in Pennsylvania. It's in New Jersey. It's in Maryland. It's in Delaware. It's in Virginia. It is there. Not in the great numbers, perhaps, or with the frequency and consistency as it is down in Georgia and some of the other lower states, warmer states, but it is up here. So that's a concern. But here I know I have no nematodes at all. I checked. And this tree is just, wow, look at it. So it stays. It stays in my collection. I've had it here a couple of years. I love the figs. And they usually get, this is in time. If it's in August, okay, of course you'd rather it be in late July. Of course you'd rather it be in early July. Of course you'd rather it be in early August. But in August, around the 25th, you know, hey, I'll take it. I'll take what I can get in 7A. And look, we have a wonderful week of hot weather ahead, so these are all going to come to fruition. They're all going to be splendid. They're all going to be exquisite, and I'm going to be enjoying them when a lot of the other trees are played out. Okay? I'm still getting a lot of Malta Black, a lot of figs being ripened on all of my trees. I've got plenty of fruit. You can see everywhere you look, there's just fruit. These are big, big fruits. This is Mabrassica, and I've got a lot of fruit here. I'm going to pick these today, a lot of them. But everywhere you go, there's fruit here. Let's just open this Mavrasica up. There we go. Ooh. Oh gosh, that was clumsy of me. I dropped that one in the grass and dirt. Okay, I'll still eat it, believe it or not. I will. I'll put it down. And let me put it down over here. I'll come back to it. I'm gonna taste a little bit of this part that didn't fall. Perfect. Good. I still have some Ronde Bordeaux that are getting ripe. Always superb. I love them. Here's a couple nice ones here. I'm sure you can see them. Let me get my hands under there. There we go. This is about the size they've been. Small this year. Some years are bigger. There's a number of factors why. Not all of which I fully understand. That's delicious. I like the seed crunch. Something I haven't talked about much, but I like a. Some people don't, but I really, really like a fig with a seed crunch, significant, noticeable. And Ronde Bordeaux has that. It has a great seed crunch. Oh, there's a real ripe one right there too. And that one's just ripe to perfection. Wow. It's got a tangy, intense flavor. Some people call berry. You notice I don't use that term much because I think figs are figs or figs are figs and not berries. And I get the point. You're trying to describe something, and so you use whatever you can, but a fig is not a raspberry, okay? It's not a strawberry, it's a fig. A fig is a fig is a fig is a fig. I know that much. And sometimes I just think the term gets carried away. It's too much. You know, there's figs of all different flavor categories, and many of them rise to the apex positions in those categories, and you should seek them out, regardless of what that category or so-called category that someone has dubbed is. Just get the fig and eat it if it's good. That's my motto. Find it, eat it. Okay? And the ones you like, eat them again and grow them in your yard if you can. Find the ones that are climatically adaptable to your region. Okay. Well, I showed you the Ama, and it's a great tree. It's fully in the ground, has been for about 3 years. And I'm going to throw a net over it now so that the birds stay away from it. And I'm going to be enjoying Alma for the next